More refurbs have begun at the Disneyland Resort. Prepare to see these scrims for a stretch while Tiana's is winding down and getting ready for previews. But first, we've got new information on what's happening at the Jungle Cruise. The Jungle Cruise, by the time you see this, will have been closed for a week already. They've actually got everything boarded up. You can't see anything inside the queue, which is interesting in and of itself. Wondering what they don't want us to see. One thing I can see, though, is all these stacked Jungle Cruise boats. I find that very fascinating, just to see them parked there at the dock. I hope they don't scratch the dock. They are lined up almost all the way to the tiger scene, which is the primary subject of this refurb. And this week, for the first time, we've been able to see or confirm visually that yes, that is what they're working on. They've got a scrim set up here in what looks like sort of a bridge across the river a little bit, and you can see the water's actually been drained a bit as well. But they're blocking our view there so that they could take down some of what's in front of that tiger scene. Scrims everywhere. We can't really see much of what they're going to be doing, but we have learned that what they are doing behind that scrim is getting ready. They're installing the footings for something of substance, of size. You don't need to set up footings for anything that's going to be like a minor refurb. So the expectation is they're going to be building something here right on the river where those scrims are. Just a bit of background. A footing is something that they install in order to help support a larger structure, a foundation. You know, it's the first step in that process. And that's why I mean, when you're talking about setting up footings, you're talking about setting up a foundation, you're talking about setting up something that is of some kind of size, that it is not, they're not just refurbing an existing structure. They're building something new from the ground up, brand new, although it may look like something it was before, but this is a brand new installation that they're putting in. Now, as I understand it, the 3 weeks that they're closing the Jungle Cruise is not to finish building everything. In those 3 weeks, we will not have a new and improved tiger scene. Those 3 weeks are just to install the footings. And that the refurb, the construction of whatever it is that they're going to wind up getting here at the Jungle Cruise is going to go beyond those 3 weeks. It's going to continue for a little while. It's actually going to be a bit. So setting the expectations here now for those guests who are in a hurry to see the old tiger scene restored, when it reopens on October 2nd, I believe, I would expect the tiger scene to still be behind those same walls, but perhaps with something a little bit more guest-facing, that we can see the beginnings of something that they're going to be building over time. 2 more weeks, the Jungle Cruise will be closed, supposed to reopen on October 2nd. We'll go to the Monorail next, where last week we had that awesome news that not only was the Monorail back open again, there she is, that you could ride in the nose with the pilot, which is an exceptional experience, and I highly recommend everybody taking advantage of that if you get the opportunity. At the time, though, the tail was still not open. You still could not ride the tail. That has changed. This week, the door was open. I saw the blue sticker on there instead of the orange DNL sticker. Guests can now ride in either the nose or the tail. Personally, I love riding the tail myself. It's a fantastic way to see the park. Again, it's like a 360 experience, but perhaps even more comfortable. It's really delightful. As far as I know, though, right now it's just Monorail Blue. Monorail Orange is not yet ready for guests in the tail. By the way, for those wondering, all you have to do is ask, basically. You might have to wait a rotation. Sometimes there's already a guest, that are waiting ahead of you, but that's going to be just like 5 minutes or so. You have to wait for the next monorail to come around. But just ask, and they'll let you in. There's no kind of reservation or anything like that. But while we're on the monorail, let's go ahead and do a little bit of recon, why don't we? There again is the rear of the retail building. Not much to report here. It looks like they did pour that concrete, though, so that's something. Not yesterday or last week, that was dirt and rebar, so they have poured the concrete back there. We'll get on the ground, take a look at Parkside Market. This is developing. The Parkside Market is going to start seeing facades. They're going to start seeing actual building elements appear on the steel, the framework that is being constructed right now. No update on the progress of the Avengers Reserve. It still looks like they're waiting to put in the drywall. We do have a permit, though, that was recently filed indicating the installation of a fiberglass steel show set figure that will be anchored to concrete. That is assumed to be the Hulk figure that you see in the concept art out in front of the Avengers Reserve. Nothing visible happening over the wall where Earl of Sandwich will eventually be built here next door in downtown Disney. We did get this shot from the street team. Street team giving us a great visual cue that construction is happening on the other side of that wall. That is a lot of dirt. They are digging now. So they've gotten to the dig phase, which means that nothing had been happening previously if they're just now digging. They're digging up that dirt in order to get ready for all the below grade stuff, the conduit and plumbing and then foundation. This takes a while. So we're going to be, this is the very beginning. So we're probably at least a year, probably maybe 18 months away from seeing Earl of Sandwich finished, which is interesting considering when I talked to a cast member at Earl of Sandwich a long time ago, they said, oh no, we're going to have our Earls ready by summer of 2024. Maybe he meant the little temporary building over there by ESPN Zone. But no, we're a year and a half away from Earl of Sandwich. But we'll keep checking. Thanks to the street team for providing this shot. This is taken from the Disneyland Hotel. And that's the direction. That's exactly the site we're looking at, Fresh Baked, if you're looking for Earl of Sandwich footage or pictures. Speaking of Earl of Sandwich, it's still open. Both of them are still open. This is the old La Brea Bakery site, future home of Porto's. We mentioned last week that demo appears to have begun. They've got construction scrim back there, taking up half of the seating area. I try to poke my camera through here through a little slice. Get in there. And can confirm eventually that there is dirt. They are in the dirt phase here as well. You can see they've dug up a lot of the concrete back there. We'll get back on the monorail. And one thing that we have been watching or been talking about casually is the Indiana Jones building getting a refurb. There's been scrim or a scaffolding up around the building for a long while now. What they're doing here is turning it from just a simple go-away green. Was it even green before? Now I can't remember. But they're actually painting trees onto the side of the building here. It's staying green, but if you take a close look, you can see palm trees being painted on the side of that building. We'll keep the camera looking down in the Esplanade at the gate entrance, and we can see that the left section has been completed. They've removed all of the construction walls there except for those around that tree that's been replaced. So all that brickwork in front of those construction walls in the left 30-year frame are new. That's the new section. They've just dug that up. That happened this week. Last week there was a tree. You guys remember the tree we saw before? They were talking about they're taking that tree out and putting in a different tree, and then they're going to redo the planter around it to be, well, no planter at all, just a steel grate. So the tree's been removed. They dug up all the tiles down there. They're going to rework that. There's the tree trick tree. And then here's the new walls that popped up last week. And we're in the dirt and rebar phase, so they're getting ready for concrete there. And then back in the tail, we can see the Disneyland Railroad tracks there. We're trying to see the current status. The monorail is kind of hiding it from us. But there are still no tracks installed as of yet in this section, but we are on track for a reopening of the Disneyland Railroad sometime near the end of October. Back on the ground, here's our current view of the Disneyland Railroad from the entrance. And you'll notice that they have replaced the plain brown scrim with the traditional faux facade that they've done over the past 5 or 10 years or whatever, to kind of give you an idea, at least an illusion that the old structure exists. This is an indicator, you guys, that as people have been suggesting to me, which I totally agree with, this is an indicator that these are going to be up for a little while. I'm not sure why they opened with the brown scrim. I don't think it was a change in their expected time frame. I think this has always been the case that it was going to be closed for a while. But maybe they were waiting. They didn't get delivery of the faux facade scrim yet, and so they put up the brown scrim first. But here we are. I'm expecting this to be down. I guess it could be open in time for the end of October when the Disneyland Railroad reopens, but it could be even longer than that, I suspect. But that is our current view. Notice, by the way, how fresh that sod looks on that tree. They've been replacing these poles, where that trash can is, and so I've been putting a lot of visual focus on that space. But this time I thought that sod looks a lot newer and fresher than it did in the past. So I referred back to our old footage, and this is from a few weeks ago, and you can see that they did in fact, either they've replaced the sod or they just dug out all that greenery there. But my suspicion is that they took all that out. You see a lot of weeds and stuff in that space, and now when we return to where those construction walls still are, waiting for them to do whatever it is they're doing, that is fresh new sod there. My expectation is that they're putting that new sod there because they want to plant something. That's what I figure. Not because they want plain brown sod there, but because they're going to plant something. I hope, anyway. Although that does it doesn't reconcile with the fact that they put the fake grass out there on, floral Mickey. Just the Mickey part is real flowers now. It used to be real grass all around it. Now it's fake grass. So I'm not sure. I may have to come back to that because that does, or I should say that does not reconcile with that. But in any case, before we continue, let me remind everybody that of our affiliate, our GetAwayToday affiliate. They are our travel partner here at Fresh Baked. If you are looking to book a trip to Disneyland, Walt Disney World, a Universal Park, Alani, anything related to theme park travel, please consider using GetAwayToday. They are our preferred travel partner. These guys are great. They are tremendously knowledgeable, helpful. They know everything there is to know about planning a trip to Disneyland, and I do highly recommend using them. We love them very much, and they love Fresh Baked, which is great. So use the link in the description for GetAwayToday and let them know that we sent you. Let's get in the park. Let's take a look again at the entrance to the Disneyland Railroad from the Main Street station. I mean, this is still better. I don't like it. And when I say I don't like it, I just mean I just love the Disneyland Railroad so much. It's such an iconic image for me that I don't like seeing those walls. But I mean, at least it looks better than the brown scrim. It's not quite as sad, I suppose. And it does stretch the entire width of the structure. And you may be able to hear some whooping and hollering back there. They are stripping it. Those are bags right there. I'm pretty sure that is stripped wood off a facade right there, what we're seeing. And you can actually hear, there was a lot of activity back there behind that scrim. You can hear a sander and some whooping and some hollering and some banging. Take a listen. Good golly, that sounds invasive. What are they doing to my baby? Oh my gosh. I hope she comes out all right. We'll head into the park. There's Main Street. This is at 9:05 a.m. I'm shooting this because it was a busy morning. The crowds are still here. The cooler weather has brought the crowds in. On our way to Adventureland, I will confirm that still nothing is happening at the restroom. I can see behind those walls, they have done literally nothing for probably 6 months back there. We'll go to the Disneyland Railroad Station at New Orleans Square, where they have, did I mention this last week? I don't remember. They've put up a scrim to hide whatever it is they're doing back there, which suggests that hopefully they are doing something. We'll take a peek. Look at that. Okay, guys. So it was cinder blocks last week. They're now putting some, red brick veneers on there. And this image actually has me wondering if I had it right. There's supposed to be 2 layers. If you look at the concept art, there's an inner section and then an outer section. The inner section where that tree is and the curved planter, and then an outer section that curves around that, and that's where the water or the fountain is, and those purple purple trees. So there's the inner circle and then the outer one, and then on the other side of that wall is supposed to be the Tiana's Palace sort of courtyard space. If we look at that concept art, you can see the other side of that waterfall and the brick facade there for that wall, where the guests are sitting there and everything. I feel like that's what we're looking at here. That's the outer wall. The shape of it reconciles with the outer wall, not the inner wall. So I'm not sure what I'm looking at anymore. But one thing that I can say that we appear to be missing, although there's still certainly an opportunity for them to fix it or to update it, is I don't see the waterfall on this side of the wall, or waterfall, the water feature, the fountain on this side of the wall either. So this is curious. I'm gonna be paying close attention to this now that we can see things happening. The brick veneers are coming along. How big is this queue? What shape is this queue? Is it not what it was before? Oh, look at that. If we go a little further, I just noticed this. Oh, there's two placeholders, probably for busts or statues or some kind of themed element on either side of the cinder block wall. You can see something like that in the concept art for the Haunted Mansion queue, those faces. I wonder if that's the same thing. I don't know. Fascinating stuff, though, to be sure, because this means that we're getting pretty close to completion, right? They're starting to put in, the themed elements. So I'm gonna be looking at this closely in the near, for the next few weeks. We'll head over to the Haunted Mansion next to just check in on that. By the way, I will say that virtual queues are selling out more quickly than they were in the past. I tried to check this I came by here at 9:30, checked at 9:48, and they were sold out, and they were still just serving groups 25 to 40. So at 9:48, virtual queues were already gone for the morning distribution. And they're selling out quickly because a lot of people are missing these now. They're missing the morning distribution, so everybody's ready for the noon distribution. Those are going fast as well, or faster. You try to get the distribution at noon, you're probably going to get something like a 3 or 4 p.m. entry to Haunted Mansion. Just a heads up to set the expectation. We'll go next door to check in on the gift shop that is being constructed there at the exit. And something that I observed this week that is encouraging for me, I was concerned about this building, this structure blocking the exit of the Haunted Mansion. That you could see that there's, the wall there is bisecting the exit. I guess have to go around the building in order to get out of there. And that piece of steel right there is right in line with the edge of that construction wall. So that means to me, that suggested to me that the building itself would also block the exit a little bit for the Haunted Mansion. But something that I noted on this one is that that's probably just the awning that is blocking it. If we look at the concept art once more, when the guests come out, it does look like it's just gonna be those 4 support beams that are gonna be sort of in the way of the exit. So guests can kind of move to either the left or the right of those support beams. To the left suggests you're probably gonna go into the gift shop because that's an open area right there. You can slide right into the gift shop there on the side, or to the right of those 4 support pillars for the awning, and guests can just exit out into the park. So it's not completely blocked. It's not being blocked by the building, but still blocked a little bit by that awning itself. Here's a look at the front. That's the window and the little planter beneath the window that'll appear there, I'm sure, I hope, I assume. View from the side as well. You can see they're building the facade. That the wood boards there, they're starting to put a face to that building. That's moving along quickly as well. Let's next get on the river, or on the Mark Twain on the Rivers of America, and we're gonna peek first at the crowd there, New Orleans Square. As I mentioned, it felt pretty busy. That's a much busier scene than we've seen at this time in the morning. We have a 30-minute wait for Pirates at just before 10 a.m. So it was a busy morning, especially for a Friday. Over the wall at the Tiana's Palace courtyard type area, nothing really new to report here other than that tubular thing. Well, I don't know what that is exactly, but that has now been brought into the scene. We go to the right, and here's that structure we were talking about last week, that mystery structure, and they've put a roof on it now. There's a roof on the elevator, the ADA elevator structure, and I'm sliding to the left here a little bit to see if I can't see anything below that or to the left of it. That there's still that wall there, and we ran out of time. We get about 5 to 10 seconds to look at that structure when we go by on the Mark Twain before the trees get in the way and we can't see anything. So I slide to the left to look more at the Disneyland Railroad in the hopes of catching something there, but we're still just at the steps in front, going up to the queue. Before sliding to the right again, there is again, oh God, I can't see. Not enough time to see what's happening in that queue out there, or that wall separating the queue, the Haunted Mansion queue, from the Tiana's courtyard. Trying to see if I can find anything beyond those walls. It looks like they put up a fence. That fence is new. I don't believe that fence was there before. And then, yeah, through the trees, you can see what I'm saying. Through the trees, you can see That's the ADA elevator rising from the earth. Just so, this is gonna be so hard to get used to, you guys. It's gonna be so hard to get used to, but we will eventually. But goodness, that is an imposing structure back there in a space that, was just wide open before, except for the switchbacks. Again, trying to see if we can't find anything rising above the fence lines, apart from that one gray wall there, but nothing to be seen. Found a construction worker doing some final touch-ups on the return. Actually, I'm not sure if that's a construction worker or an Imagineer. It could be either. And I was so delighted by him because he took out his phone and started filming the Mark Twain. He stopped what he was doing to film the Mark Twain, and I found that very endearing. It was delightful to see him do that. I loved it. Okay, so Tiana's Bayou Adventure. We're almost done here, you guys. We're pretty much done. You can see in the distance they put up the sign, that purple sign at the second lift hill. In the barn, we can kind of peek over the wall a little bit to see that. There you go, a celebration of family something or other of New Orleans. And so that's a new sign being added there. We'll see another sign later on. But for now, we'll continue looking over to Critter Country, soon to be Bayou Country. Very difficult to pick up anything happening now because the walls, what's happening behind those walls is very well obscured. So we can't really tell I don't even know if there's any surface down there. Last week we reported, oh, never mind. We're going to slide to the left and see if we can't find anything over here. I haven't seen a lot of action, a lot of movement on what's happening on this angle where the boats start to come around. There's supposed to be a bunch of water right there, hopefully in the near future. Getting back to Tiana's or Critter Country, there's the sign that we noticed last week. That's the entrance. That's where guests are going to enter the queue for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, where that purple sign is down there. One other thing that I noticed while I was here, see that brownish rock surface there right below the grayish rock surface? That's where the hole was in the mountain. They had dug up the hole and where they were installing electrical conduit, etc. So that work is finished as well. So they are now applying the first layer, the first surface of texture on there, and that color will change as well. It'll probably be more like the grayish rock, I'm sure. Meanwhile, at the Hungry Bear, nothing to report. I have no news on when this place might open. They're still got the old menu up there, so it could be a little while, but nothing to observe at the Hungry Bear in terms of, updated theming or anything of that effect. I tried. We still just have Ursa T. Bear back there. We can observe this week that the construction or the scrim that we saw covering the Disneyland Railroad tracks along the backside of the Rivers of America, that has all been removed. That work has been completed. We mentioned last week that this is unrelated to the track replacement. They did not replace the tracks here. These are the same tracks that were here before. They will eventually be replaced, but it won't be for another couple years. What they were doing was replacing some of the wood features here. I'm not sure. I don't believe it was all of them. It was just some of them. I was trying to see if I could determine which ones are new and which ones are old, but I don't have a trained eye for that. But one thing I did notice that my eye could spot, if we zoom in closer on the track itself, that looks new. That looks replaced. The wood that's on either side of the track. The near side looks, newer and fresher, more saturated in color, as opposed to the far side, the left side, if you will. And then there's some, newer board there as well. So that could be what they were replacing there as well. And it could be that that's not the final form either. They could be that they have other plans, because it does look a little new. You know what I mean? It looks a little too new to be an old train. We talked about in past the Tom Sawyer Island was closed for, it was going to be closed for a few days. It turned out to be closed for just one day. So I don't expect to have there to be any changes at all visible to the guests. They didn't do anything that we would be concerned about. Everything is in the same condition it was. I mean, in a good way, at least, in some way, at least. The pontoon bridge is still open, but the bilge pump and the pirate with the treasure, those are still not working. And from here, we can also see that Pirate's Lair is still open. There's some guests having enjoyed that. I kind of love that. You know what? I just love this whole dang island, you guys. I'm sorry. Can I just say that again? I love Tom Sawyer Island. It is just the absolute best. It is a beautiful creation that we have here. I just love how it exists in this great metropolis of Disneyland, that you've got this oasis in the middle of the park that is so beautifully designed and themed. And I just want to encourage guests as much as possible, go to Tom Sawyer Island and remember what it was like to go to Disneyland. If you want to feel Disneyland, if you want to know you're at Disneyland, go to Tom Sawyer Island and spend an hour there, or even just a half an hour. You can just do it. Take the raft, get on the island for a little bit, and then get back on the raft and just appreciate it, because it is magnificent and I love it. With that, we'll get back on the ground, head back to Tiana's. I want to see what's going on there at, well, I should say Bayou Country. See if there's any updates here. I mean, there's not a lot to report on, not because nothing's happening, but because they're done. They're basically done. You can see that scaffolding has been removed all over the place. The only things that are left are some of the, like this right here. That you can see they've been working on this little trellis, this themed trellis that is going to stay steel, I think. But they've added some themed elements there, some vinery on the front. Obviously, and you could tell that that's going to be standby, lightning lane, and and the clock. Those signs have been installed at the entrance, so that's pretty clear what's happening there. So I appreciate them doing that, by the way, because that did not exist in the past. You had to go all the way over to the Haunted Mansion to see what the wait time was. Well, I was here. Look. They're installing actual wood facade this is that right turn you make after just before you get into the sort of cave section of the queue. That's really, really cool. And that's what's kind of left. That's all that's left is these types of touches. Most of it is done. Someday when this is all over, I'm going to come back to this spot. I'm going to come back to that location and to that piece of wood. And I'm going to comment that I watched them put that piece of wood in there. And I'm going to freak out a little bit. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, you guys. I really am. For the entrance, there again is that trellis, and that's the other new sign, the main entrance sign. Is that what I'm focused on? I can't tell. No, I'm still looking at the trellis. The vineries were taken down, the little actual flowers or whatever. They took those down for a minute. They'll probably put them back. There it is. There's the main entrance sign. That's new. They've just added that. I'm not sure why they wanted to identify that as a main entrance. There's Tiana's Tunnel. That is done. I wonder if they are not going to put the last bit of veneers on that log surface there. And here again, see, completely clean. Not a scaffold in sight. This is a finished product. Wonderful. I'm really liking how that looks. Do I zoom in here? Let's see. They're building another, they're going to grow. I think there's that little fence at the top of the ridge there. I think they're going to put some vines or something on there. Add some more theming, some more landscaping or vegetation, perhaps. Maybe some tomatoes. Run some tomatoes on there. But yeah, that's done. Not sure what I'm looking at there. Oh, that's the exit. I don't remember seeing this before, but that's the exit to the attraction. And then also here from Pooh Corner, there's a little bit more light being cast back there. There's a little bit more activity happening on theming on that. That's that same exit. That's the way out of the attraction. So that's starting to come into focus a little bit. It's always been very dark. The scaffolding and all that cast a shadow. No update yet on what's happening at Pooh Corner. Scrim and scaffold still up. Although, again, I expect that to be done soon. I don't think this will be taking very much longer. Gotta tell you, as the scaffolding and the scrim starts to come down here at Tiana's, I'm really starting to like what I'm seeing. And it goes towards something that I said a long time ago, that it's very difficult to be optimistic and look at a thing and say, yeah, that's going to be great, when it's behind all that scrim and scaffold. And all you're seeing is demo, and you're seeing things being removed and taken, and you can't visualize what's to come and what it could be. This is starting to take shape, and and I really do like how this is starting to look. I mean, that's all I could go on right now is what I can see, but I do like what I see so far. So yeah, Tiana's is near done, but you know it's the cycle is ongoing at Disneyland. There's always something. There's always the next project, and that next project appears. Do you remember when it was just those green walls out in Tomorrowland in front of the Astro Orbiter that have been there for years now? They have spawned new walls. They have grown. The construction walls have expanded to completely encircle Pixie Hollow. There's the walls that existed there on the far right, and now they have grown to the left as well. That's where the little grotto was. And then if you go around the other side, the walls are, man, they have consumed all of Pixie Hollow. It is it is an impressive encirclement that they have created here. That's about where you would enter. You would walk into the right of those trees. That's how you would walk into Pixie Hollow typically. And they do in fact go all the way down to the exit to Pixie Hollow. When you leave, it's at the end of those walls. So that means that whatever it is they're doing is related to Pixie Hollow. What they're doing, though, I don't know yet. I've tried to look for some permits, construction permits, but I haven't been able to identify anything. Unless the permits are being filed under some other description that aren't obvious, I don't know what they're doing other than they are doing it. I'll try to check around to see if I can't learn a little bit more, but I don't expect Pixie Hollow to be going away. I don't think it's going away. It's just getting an update. To what extent, who can say? What I can say, though, is that this is a job for the Astro Orbiter. You guys remember when we got on this thing to watch them do the planters out there? Well, now we get to get back every week on the Astro Orbiter to see what's going on the other side of the walls. It's kind of exciting. This is one of my favorite parts of this job, is being able to do stuff like this. Unfortunately, the satellite blocks our view of a large part of what you can do over there. But I can see it looks like what they're digging up is just to the left of the satellite. I don't see any work happening yet to its right. As we fly over, there's the planter, and there's the little grotto area. That's the part that looks to be dug up. There's no water there. They've drained that bed. Actually, I don't see any work happening there at all, for that matter. But I don't see anything. I mean, it could be that it hasn't happened yet. This is a brand new development. Those walls have only been up for a week, so sometimes it takes a while for them to get into what they're actually doing. Find me on Fridays on the Astro Orbiter, Fresh Baked. I think I'm gonna vom now, but it had to be done. It's a job that has to be done. We'll see you here every week for the next while, I think. Yeah, it's a tough gig. It's a tough gig, but there you go. We're gonna go to California Adventure next. Yeah. So 5 and Dime, when the stage is up, the water's off. I feel I'm just gonna cruise by here and just check every now and then, but I think that's pretty much a given, right? Get the 5 and Dime off Carthay Fountain. We're here though to check in on this. Look at through the San Francisco Bridge. You can see that there's some interesting blue and purple, I guess, scrims around either side of the Pixar Pier sign. That's Lamplight Lounge, obviously on the right, and Knicks Knacks on the left, with the blue and purple scrim and construction walls as well. Just paint and polish again, I'm sure, on this. I haven't heard anything otherwise, nothing preparing us for this, but I don't expect this to be anything more than just new paint. And everything is still open. You can still walk into Knicks Knacks here, for example. So everything is open, but there you go. Cozy Cones. The walls are still up back there. We've been trying to figure out what they're doing here. I have a couple permits there that I can mention. There was the one filed in August to install a 24 square foot freestanding pergola. Now, what they had here presently or before were umbrellas. They had tables, like circular park tables with an umbrella sticking out of it where guests could sit. Now they're installing a pergola, or maybe it's a 378 square foot covered canopy. Both of these permits filed 2 months apart from each other are for the Cozy Cones, and then are going to relocate, according to this one, 2 benches with shade umbrellas. So yeah, they're definitely removing those benches with the shade umbrellas. So it could be that they're doing both. I feel like it's reasonable to think that they're going to install a pergola and a covered canopy. My guess is this new installation will make it possible to seat more people. You'll put probably like park bench style benches, you know, the rectangular ones as opposed to the circular ones. We'll see. But that suggests, or that could be suggestive of why it's taking a little longer than usual to do a simple refurb, because they're actually building something back there. While we're here, we'll check in on what's happening there in that space on the other side between the Cozy Cones and Luigi's. Through the wall, we can see they're still in the dirt phase. They've definitely dug everything up there. They're doing something, actually not a very informative view on this side. So let's go to the Luigi side of things. And this is a little bit more telling. When this comes into focus, we'll find Silvacells. This is something that I've newly discovered what this is and what they do. These are installed below grade wherever you have trees in place to help, nourish them, to give them water, but also to help stormwater runoff and that kind of thing. Which is part of, modern construction these days, is they're trying to capture as much water as possible, I would assume. So what that suggests to me, if we're seeing Silvacells here, then that means this is just going to be another landscaped environment, not for guests per se, but there's going to be trees here. I'm sure I have some videos somewhere, but I have to rely on my memory, but I don't recall there being much going on there to its left if there were trees there before. But certainly that is what's going to be happening here in the future. Whether or not it's going to involve guests is another story. I still expect this just to be an aesthetic thing as opposed to anything for, that's guest facing, as it were. With that, we'll cover the refurb calendar for this week, starting again at the Disneyland Railroad, where, as we mentioned before, it's closed now and we don't have a date yet. There's no scheduled reopening date, but we're expecting something by the end of October. Same thing for the Main Street Opera House, in that we don't have a date as of yet. And my expectation still is at least by, January 2025, the beginning of the 70th, but hopefully before then. The Columbia is got a scheduled closure from September 23rd through September 26th. Small World is still closed, and we don't have a date on that one as well. But as I mentioned last week, my expectation is that it's going to be closed up into, at least until, well, I should say it could be as long as November 15th, beginning of the holiday season. One thing that we can say, though, is that it's more than just for the Disneyland Railroad. Some new scrim and scaffold have popped up forward of, around the Glockenspiel. So whether or not that's something that is for show purposes, I couldn't say. It could just be electrical or some kind of update, upgrade to the back of house stuff. But this update is more than just the Disneyland Railroad. Jungle Cruise, again, as I mentioned, reopening on October 2nd, but I do expect the construction to continue on that for a little while, and don't expect the Tiger Scene to be finished at that point. This is just, the closure of the 3 weeks that it's closed. We got 2 weeks to go. It's just to install the footing. Pixie Hollow is scheduled to reopen on October 4th, or I should say October 15th, which does suggest that this is not a big deal. It's about a month, a little over, or almost 2 months now. Just a month closure. So it's enough to warrant all of those construction walls, but not enough to, if it's going to reopen in a month, I should say, it's not like anything catastrophic. They're not doing anything major. Pixie Hollow will be just fine. And it probably have nothing to do with anything we can see, unless it's the return of the little light show. Gosh, I would love that. Bring back the light show. That's our update for you guys this week. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. If you like this show and want to show support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. Then follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. Join our newsletter. There's a link in the description for that. And then that's it. We love you guys. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And fresh baked.